was one name for World War I? All right, this is the Great War. What was the other name? War to End All Wars. Okay. What was a continent that got gobbled up by colonization during the 1800s? Africa. Okay. What was it called when the United States did the same thing in the Spanish-American War, when we acquired Alaska and when we also acquired Hawaii? Imperialism. What are the 4 long-term causes of World War I? Nationalism, imperialism, militarism, and alliances. What's this one?
Nationalism.
All right, what's this one? Militarism. What's this one? Come on, man. Come on. All right, alliances. And the other one is?
Imperialism.
All right, okay. So, during today's lecture, I will most likely do that, just to kind of see if you guys are paying attention. We've gone over the basics on that. Now, this is kind of like when you read a book. This is the setting. What's going on? Why are all these things going to come together to form World War I? Okay? So we're starting right here. If you guys can get out your packets, you're going to start filling in these blanks. And I'm going to explain this to you as we go along. So, when I refer to Prussia, what am I talking about? Talking about Germany. Okay? Otto von Bismarck is going to be the chancellor. He's going to be the guy that is the Kaiser's #1 man. He's basically going to be doing all the work. And the Kaiser's more of a what, as we said yesterday? A figurehead. Although he does have power, so don't think that he doesn't. Okay? So when we start off, we're going to be we're going to talk about Germany, and then we're going to break off and explain the rest of it. Okay? But in the end, Germany is going to be a major player here. All right. So I'm going to draw a map here. In your packet, if you go to the back of, I think, the first page, there's a blank area where you can draw a map. I think I put that in there for you. Can you see this? If I ran the board?
Yeah.
Okay, so the map is very simple. I'm going to draw some letters. You're going to tell me what countries they represent. What's the E? England. What's the F? France. What's the R? Russia. Okay, I'll use a different color from these other guys, and that's on purpose. If I have a G, let me use a different red here. If I have a G, what's that?
Germany.
Germany, right? Or what were we calling it? Prussia. All right, if I do an A, H, Austria-Hungary, and then an I, Italy. I'm also going to add in another one down here, but this one's not going to come into play until later. Okay? What's that one? Serbia. Okay? Now, if we look at the real map, you'll notice that on your map, as I was telling you yesterday, Germany is a lot bigger on your map. That's because Poland was gone for 100 years. Okay? And this area here was part of Russia. Prussia came over to here. Austria-Hungary was a lot bigger. Okay? France pretty much was the same. So, I'm going to be referring to these areas, but like I said, on your beginning map, it does not look exactly like this because these, after World War I, the map changed. And it looked more like it is on this map right here. Okay? Now, these are the main players for now. Alright? So we're going to start with Germany. Does anybody juggle? Can you juggle for real? Okay. I'm going to need you to juggle for me. So when I tell you, you're going to come up here and you're going to juggle.
Juggle what?
Balls. Tennis balls. Can you do 3?
I don't know. I'll try.
Alright, you can practice over there for now. Alright, so go practice. Alright. Okay. So, she's going to represent Bismarck. Okay? And she's going to juggle. So just go ahead and practice. They're already open. I opened it for you, so be careful, alright? Okay. So, alright. So we got the famous Bismarck over here, the Chancellor of Germany. Okay? Bismarck, his goal is to unite all the German-speaking peoples. Now, you remember yesterday, I was telling you that Germany had German-speaking peoples outside of the German borders. You guys remember that? Okay. He wants to unite all those people and make one German empire. Does that make sense? You guys can focus on me right now. Actually up here. Okay? Alright. So Bismarck wants to create this big German empire, okay? And in order to do that, just like we were talking about before, he's going to have to go outside the German borders. Well, there's other countries there. So he's either going to have to take it or annex it or whatever, right? Or he can make an alliance. So if you think about your 4 long-term causes, those play into this whole thing. And specifically alliances at this point. Now, Prussia is going to start building up their military and their navy. What's that called? Militarism, right? When they start to do that, it's going to make England very nervous. Why? They have the strongest what at the time? Forever they've had the strongest what? They're an island, so they have to have a strong navy, right? Okay. So they start building not only up their military, but they also build up their navy. Okay. When they do that, they upset the balance of power in Europe. You guys ever see, you know, like a woman holding the 2 things, and it's the balance of power? Okay. If you can do 2.
Yeah, I can
Do 2, and then we'll come back. All right. Okay. Here you go. All right. So just do 2. All right. So the balance of power in Europe is going to be off balance. Okay. So if Germany is building up their military, and this is Germany over here, and this is the rest of Europe, and it goes like this, what do the other countries have to do to make it balanced again? To start building up their own militaries, right? Okay. But now everybody moves up because now everybody's got guns. And usually that's a recipe for war, right? So, at this point, British obviously rule the seas. The building up of Germany's navy and army starts to worry the British, as well as other European nations. Okay. Now, with that being said, Bismarck is the master juggler. He's able to juggle all these different alliances, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. Now, this map, you can draw it in your packet, but it's going to change as we go along, and that's kind of hard to do because you don't have a whiteboard. So we're going to start off and we're going to talk about how Bismarck's going to do this. So he fears French revenge. Now I didn't tell you this, but you probably learned this in world history. It was called the Franco-Prussian War. So who's that between? The French and the Prussians, but the French and the Germans, right? Okay, so that war took place like in the late 1800s. And the Germans ended up taking a piece of land right here called Alsace-Lorraine. It was a French piece of land. And because of that, Germany's afraid that France is going to try to get revenge and take that land back. So he wants to isolate France from everybody else, especially Russia. Okay? So this is what he's saying anyway. So the Franco-Prussian War goes on, and don't forget, it was a little man that had, the little man syndrome and went throughout Europe and just about destroyed everybody. Napoleon, everybody hates Napoleon because he he went through and he destroyed everybody. So everybody's kind of has like a little angst against France. So this is what he does. Now, just to give you another piece of background, Germany and Austria-Hungary, this is how I look at it. Germany is Austria-Hungary's big brother. They speak pretty much the same language. I mean, if you know anything, that's where Hitler was from. Hitler was from Austria. So these guys are like connected by the hip, if you understand what I'm saying. Russia and Serbia, which I'll talk about later, these guys also are connected because they both speak a Slavic language. So if we ever think of Yugoslavia or Czechoslovakia, they all speak a similar language. Not exactly the same, but they're the same roots, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay. So Germany, Prussia, fearing this whole Franco-Prussian, during the Franco-Prussian War, Germany feared that France was going to get together with Russia. So he's trying to keep them isolated. So what he does is he forms, in the beginning, this is the first one, it's called the Dual Alliance in 1879 with his little brother, Austria-Hungary. So I'm going to put 2 lines here representing what? Dual. What's dual? 2, right? Duo, okay. So this is going to be called the Dual Alliance. Then he sets up another one. So this is why he's the juggler. He's going to juggle, juggle, juggle. He's going to set up another alliance, and this alliance is going to be called the Three Emperors League because Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Russia all had emperor-type leaders. And so they're going to name this one the Three Emperors League. Okay? Now, any questions so far? No? Alright. After the Three Emperors League, so you can see it's only a couple years after that, okay, Bismarck then solidifies his strength by creating the Triple Alliance. Now, the Triple Alliance is the one, in the end, this is the one you kind of have to remember. Because the Triple Alliance is going to be the one that's going to end up being the one that's still around when the war starts. Okay? So the Triple Alliance, sorry if I didn't color here. Wow. Okay. So this is a Triple Alliance. Okay, now, looking at this map, would you say that this isolated France from having friends? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Now here's the deal. Russia's super poor, not doing so well. They had a revolution in the early 1900s, and they're going to have another one at the end of World War I, which we'll get to later. So they're not really stable at this point, and things are going on over there, and Bismarck's just not sure that the Russians are going to hold up their end of the deal. Now you'll notice that in this chart, who's Germany always connected to? Austria-Hungary, right? Because they're buddies. But in this particular case, they're going to make a secret treaty with the Russians, and it's called the Reinsurance Treaty. Okay? Now, how many of you guys drive? Okay, you guys drive? Alright, what do you have to drive? You have to have a license, and what else? You have to have insurance. Why do you get insurance? Just in case, well, you could die, right? Okay, but just in case something happens, right? It's just in case. It's to reinsure yourself that you're going to be covered, right? Well, same thing here. They're going to make this reinsurance treaty because Germany wants to make sure that Russia's not going to do anything stupid. And in this case, possibly going, if Germany gets, let's just say, hypothetically, Germany got into a fight with France, they want to make sure that Russia's not going to get involved. Why? What's the problem? Yeah, Germany is going to have a two-front war. They're sandwiched in the middle. So they got to keep Russia out of the deal. So they make the reinsurance treaty. Alright, so, okay. So I'll just read this to you real quick. Russia and Germany make a secret treaty. They left Austria-Hungary out, so their cousin's not in it, or their brother. This treaty provided for neutrality in case either Russia or Germany became involved in a defensive war, meaning that the country that was not fighting would stay out of the conflict. Remember I was telling you that yesterday? I said, hey, I'll make a deal with you, and if I get into a fight with somebody else, you promise to stay out? That's kind of the deal they made. Because see, in the back of their minds, Germany knew they were going to be going to war with France eventually. All right, they didn't want Russia in there. So, it was originally set so that Bismarck could make sure that Russia would not ruin his plans of forming a German empire. Okay, are you done practicing?
Yeah.
Okay, I need you to start juggling. So, if you want, you can actually, yeah. So go ahead and juggle. So Bismarck is the consummate juggler. He is holding all of these alliances together. But what happens is when Wilhelm II, he's the new Kaiser, comes in to be the new Kaiser, he doesn't like Bismarck and he fires him. What happens?
Well, I came to three.
What just happened? So if the balls represent the alliances, what just happened when I threw the third ball in there? They crumbled, right? Give her a round of applause. Okay, so, thank you so much for doing that. So Bismarck is no longer going to be able to keep all these alliances together. What was the most important alliance of all these?
Austria-Hungary.
The ones with Russia, right? Well, when Bismarck gets fired, because he's the signer of these treaties, these treaties right here are going to dissolve. Okay? Now, who do you think is going to be super quick to come to Russia's aid. Oh my God, poor Russians. You guys want some help?
France.
All right, that's right. France is going to come to Russia's aid because they see what's going on. They're like, enough of that stuff. We're going to get some friends. So France and Russia, they make a treaty or an alliance in 1894. And who's the only one that's left? Forget about these guys. England, right? England's like, man, we got to get some friends here too, because some, everybody else is kind of teaming up, and we're by ourselves. And in this time, England and France make an entente. It's a French word for agreement. And they're like, all right, we got an agreement with you, and you got an agreement with Russia. Why don't we just make it 3 against 3? And we'll call ourselves the Triple Alliance. Okay? So, at this point, you've got 2 armed camps, you've got the Triple Entente, the Triple Alliance, and everybody's got guns. What do you think might happen? As always. Yeah, somebody's going to get mad at somebody else, and someone's going to shoot. Remember how the American Revolution was started? One shot that was heard around the world? Okay, yeah.
A triple alliance for England, France, and Russia. You wrote triple alliance.
Oh, my fault.
Triple
Thank you
and
so much. I wrote it down
Entente.
wrong. Triple Entente. Thank you for correcting that. Okay, so Triple Alliance here, Triple Entente there. Yeah, I misspoke and miswrote. Okay, so now we have to go back. Now that you have the general gist of what's going on, what's going to cause the war to happen? Okay. Yeah, right. So we have to kind of step back a little bit and talk about location. You ever heard location, location, location when they're talking about business? All right? That's the same when we talk about, that's why we got Alaska and Hawaii. Why did we get all those territories? They're strategic for our military, right? Panama Canal, strategic for our military, but also for trade. Okay? So we don't have to go all the way around South America. Anyway, so here's what's going to happen. You guys know I'm famous for my drawings. I'm going to draw the top of Africa here.